Hey guys, welcome to StudyIQ. Today we are going to have a very interesting discussion about two important terms which have been in news in United States of America. We are going to understand about a term known as birthing people. Now this has been in news because recently in a US administrative document, the word mothers has been replaced by birthing people. I'm repeating, the word mother, it has been replaced by another term, birthing people. We'll understand why, what is the entire discussion with respect to this particular term. Apart from birthing people, we are also going to talk about the woke culture or wokeism. This has become very prominent discourse, especially in United States, where on one side there is a woke culture or people who support wokeism, and on the other side there are people who are conservationists who criticize this wokeism as woke bogey. So let's try to understand this. Now, from exam perspective, you might be thinking, sir, why this is going to help me? First of all, personality tests or the interviews are around the corner. And such topics are very interesting to be asked in an interview. So please keep a track of these terms, keep a track of development, not just in Indian society, but global society as well. But when we talk about the syllabus perspective, this is very important from GS1 Indian society, although you might argue here that, sir, these things are not very prominent from Indian society perspective. But let me tell you that the LGBTQ community, they have got the legal status in India thanks to Supreme Court decision. So this particular paradigm is going to become more and more important in Indian society also going into future. Apart from that, if you're from political science and international relations background, this is a very interesting discussion for you. First of all, when we talk about this woke culture, it somehow affects the feminist movement. So it is going to impact feminism in some area. So it becomes a very important example for you to put it in your mains answers. Right. So let's begin the discussion. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar. Stay tuned with me to get all this information. And if you're preparing for UPSC Civil Services Examination, just go to the description of this particular video. You will find all the details of our programs on StudyIQ. Now, let me first tell you about the news why we are discussing this. Recently, in the budget document of United States, in the fiscal year 2021-22, they have released a budget document where they have replaced the term mother by the term birthing people. And in the report or in the budget document, you will see that it talks about high maternal mortality rates. The document talks about reducing maternal mortality rates among birthing people, not mothers. Although you have to note that the same document, the same budget document, it also mentions at many places maternal care, right? Let me just take you through the text of that particular document. The policy document says the United States has highest maternal mortality rate among the developed countries, which is unacceptably high. And why it is unacceptably high? Because there is some sort of a discrimination that is going on in the United States right now. The MMR, that is the maternal mortality rate, it is quite high, especially among the black people in America, American Indians, the Alaska Native, and other women of color. So there is some sort of discrimination in terms of healthcare benefits that are being provided to women of color. This is acknowledged by the document, and the document also suggests some steps that they need to take to reduce the MMR, especially among birthing people. Now, this is a very common discussion. Quite understandable also. They want to reduce their MMR and they want to highlight the discrimination that is going on there. Very good thing. But what it has led to, as soon as the document was released, there was a lot of uproar because of the use of the term birthing people instead of mother. Now, this term was mocked by many people, especially the opponents of President Joe Biden. He's a Democrat. So many Republicans oppose this particular word. Now, as soon as the uproar began, the debate started among two sections. I told you on one side, there are people who support the woke culture. Now, what is this woke culture or wokeism? Wokeism means having awareness about the racial inequality, having awareness or discussion about the LGBTQ community. So these are the people who talk about or promote the rights of LGBTQ. But on the other side, there are conservationists, right? These conservationists, they criticize the woke culture people or the people who support woke culture as the woke bogey. So a debate started between these people who support woke culture and people who mock or they deride the woke culture. Now, because of this debate, what is happening? We'll talk at the end also, but try to remember the debate has started on this particular term and the entire issue of maternal mortality rate somehow, I would say, has taken back foot. Now, which is one of the problems with having debate over the terms rather than the core issue. The core issue is addressing the maternal mortality rate in USA, especially the discrimination among the women of color. Now, let's talk about this particular term and why the people who support woke culture, why do they want the term birthing people instead of mother? The people who support this term, birthing people, they are the people who are the trans rights activists. They advocate the use of this term instead of mother because they say it is not just the woman. I'm repeating, it is not just the woman who give birth. They give the example of trans men, genderqueer people. They also argue that birthing people who are surrogates, such terms need to be gender neutral. Now, let me give an example here. You might be thinking, how can someone who's not a woman, they can give birth? Let me give you an example, an interesting fact here. World's first pregnant man, Thomas Beatty. This is Thomas Beatty. He was world's first pregnant man in 2007. He gained a lot of prominence when he gave birth to a baby girl named Susan. Now, after that, he has given birth to 3 children. A classic example of trans men. Now, it's not just Thomas Beatty. Thomas Beatty became very famous in 2007, but after that, there are many people. There is Freddie McConnell, there is Jason Baker. There are many trans men who have given birth to children, who have become pregnant and who have given birth to children. So, because of this particular thing, the trans activists, they support the use of term birthing people instead of women. Now, the question arises, sir, is it just the birthing people, the only one term? Is it important, or has there been some sort of other activism also? See, birthing people, it's not the first woke term or first wokeist term. People who follow woke culture, they have promoted many other words, like try to use the word chest feeding instead of breastfeeding. I gave you an example of trans men or genderqueer people, right? They say chest feeding, not breastfeeding. They also say try to use the term menstruating people or menstruators instead of menstruating women. So there have been many other terms. In fact, gestational woman, many other terms have been suggested. Now, if you talk about the background, this is not the first time that the word has become very prominent. In 2020 itself, Harvard Medical School in an article spoke about giving maternal justice to all birthing people. Please highlight this word, all birthing people. Not just women, but all birthing people, to include the other people also who give birth. In 2021, a US Congresswoman also used the term black birthing people before the US House oversight hearing, which also became a very important news because she tweeted this. After that, there was a lot of debate in US. But for the first time, US administration, it becomes very important. It has used the term birthing people. Although it's not just US, which is following the discourse of wokeism. Everywhere you talk about UK, even in UK, wokeism has become very prominent. In many hospitals and many universities, they have promoted the use of words like chest feeding instead of breastfeeding. They have promoted the use of birthing parent. They have promoted the use of second biological parent or co-parent instead of father to become more trans inclusive. Not just UK, but even in Australia, many universities have supported different kinds of words. Like the birthing parent is one of the words, chest feeding is one of the words, gestational and non-gestational parent is another term that they are supporting. So it's not for the first time that such terms have been used, but for very first time in the history of United States administration, such a term has appeared in an administrative document. That is why there is a lot of uproar. Now, this has led to a huge debate. Now, debate around what? There are 3 prominent themes of this debate. On one side, we can talk about people who support the woke culture. Now, criticizers of this, they suggest that the use of birthing people as an example to replace the term mother, it is nothing but extreme wokeism. It is over-gendering. Do you think that? Because chest feeding, very fine instead of breastfeeding, but right now they are trying to replace the word mother itself by a term called as birthing people. Is it an example of extreme wokeism? Let me know your thoughts about these questions in comment section for sure. But on the other side, the other liberals, they observe something. Because of this entire discourse, we talk about the term. We talk about the term woman, we talk about the term birthing parent, and the conservationists, they criticize the woke culture people as woke bogey. And in this discourse over the term, we are focusing on a minor issue. We are focusing on the term. We are focusing on mother, birthing parent, chest feeding, all these terms. But what are we missing out? At the beginning of discussion, I told you the issue of maternal mortality rate, which is very high in United States among the developed countries. And here you can see the angle of discrimination, especially among women of color. So does this entire discussion or debate around these terms, does it distract from the real matter? Now, the real matter is how to address this problem of maternal mortality rate. Now, that has already taken back foot. Because if you look at the news, they talk about these terms instead of highlighting the numbers in terms of higher MMR in USC. So that is one of the disadvantages. The debate is going on around this also. Should we focus on words or should we focus on the core issue at hand? Now, the third important debate is with respect to the feminist perspective. At the beginning of the discussion, I told you it's very important to understand how this wokeism or the woke culture, it impacts feminist movement. Many people, especially feminists, they criticize that the terms that these wokists promote, they try to erase the term woman itself. Now here, the term mother has now been replaced by birthing people. Does it try to replace the word woman? Because woman is a uniquely female terminology, right? Based on this particular term itself, the entire feminist discourse has developed. So a question arises, by using these terms which are more inclusive, are we hampering the feminist movement around the world? That is also one of the questions of the debate. Now the answers to this will be known only with time. How the evolution of the society takes place. Will women issues be kept separate or will they be clubbed among the more inclusive trans activist terms? However, let me know your thoughts about this particular discussion and how prominent are these issues in Indian society. With that, let me end my discussion. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind.